Mankind must put an end to war. A war will put an end to mankind.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Well, I'm not drunk. I learned everything I got.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person.
All right. Welcome, Internet, to the Blind Partisan podcast.
Man, you're stuck with me again?
I'm Elliot.
Is no one
and
responding to your calls?
I actually have no one here with me. I'm going solo today. So today we're going to talk about all of the things that I love. First of all, Mexican food.
Oh, Mexican food's pretty good, yeah.
You're not supposed to talk at all.
Oh.
No, this is Jacob.
And so, I don't know what we're doing.
So what are we talking about today, Jacob?
So we're going to be talking about the crossroads that you and I love so much, between politics and technology.
Yeah.
And we did that recently already, but of course, something new always is coming up because there's always something new in this presidency and this era of time, right?
True.
And by the time this goes out, I'm sure this will be wildly outdated because that's how the news cycle works now, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So we're talking about our president and
well, I don't know. I don't know that it has to be about our president. So the requested topic was to talk about specifically Google, Facebook, and Twitter in politics.
Right. But the question then is what's, causing that discussion? What's, the trigger for it?
I love that we're doing the Kremlinology. Are you aware of that term?
No.
So it's like trying to determine like the intent of certain things, right?
Yeah.
So why are we doing this topic? I don't really care why we're doing it. I just want to do it.
Want to do it? Nike.
So it's like
yeah.
As we record this, we're about a week before the new iPhones come out.
Oh, that's what matters.
So that's where Kremlinology is talked about a lot because like the invites that people in the media get, they try to dissect like, ooh, what does Apple mean by this? Is there some hidden meaning? And half the time it's nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
The speculation.
Yeah. So anyway, so you were saying you think that this revolves around Trump specifically.
I think the topic's been brought up because he brought it up. And, say what you want about Trump, but when he brings up a point, it gets talked about.
Right. So how did he bring it up?
He's feuding. I want to use that word. I don't know if that's appropriate, but I want to say he's feuding with Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Wrong reason.
I think we should specify. Do you like Google, Elliot?
You know what? I think that we have is absconded the word I'm looking for. We've kind of just allowed Google way too much power.
Yeah.
in a very critical space.
Google's scary big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not
away.
just their size. It's the specific thing that they have power over. They have power over revealing information on the internet to all of us.
And they're
the gatekeeper
everywhere.
Yeah.
Let's clear this up. Google's not a great company. They do a lot of sketchy stuff. But I mean, is there such a thing as, a giant corporation that's good?
Yeah, so in terms of except for their core technology and like iterations, they've never really created anything.
They just buy things.
So they buy things and adapt them, which whatever, that's fine.
Right. But Apple's used that strategy.
No, but where I'm going with that is like a lot of the evil or the things you're saying aren't good. Like I don't know that there's another way to do some of these things.
I mean, how about their goals? A few weeks back in the news was the fact that even if you turn all recording settings on Android off, they're still recording everything you say.
Yeah, but they'll fix that. They'll have to.
Fix that.
Well, I mean, they'll have to. Their competition doesn't do it. So anyway, so specifically, my understanding of this issue is, in fact, I'm going to Google for Google and Trump and see what comes up. Yep. So I'll read this headline from.
Yeah, who's the first that comes up for you?
Well, the first one is Axios, which I think is I think they're more of a tech site.
I don't know who that is.
But so this was 8 minutes ago. New York Post. Google pushes back after Trump claims it ignored State of the Union address.
I didn't even hear that Trump said that specifically. Did you?
So this was his tweet here. Google search results for Trump news show only the viewing reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged for me and others so that almost all stories and news is bad. Fake news is prominent. Republican, conservative, and fair media is shut out. Illegal?
So the first thing I'd like to state,
Yeah.
before we go into any of this,
Yeah.
is a direct message to Trump.
Yeah.
You know that search results are personalized, right? That not everyone sees the same things.
Well, they can be personalized. So if he's not signed into Google, if he's on some sort of, if he's on so kind of going back to the whole Hillary email thing, government things sometimes in some cases have to be locked down, right? So he might be using a lockdown device, so it is more or less anonymized.
Right, but we don't know that.
We don't know.
And we know, I think it's pretty safe to say that Trump does not understand the technology behind
Absolutely
things. He's not very tech literate.
Right.
And that makes me feel like just a blanket term saying Google's doing this doesn't fit.
Right. So there is the aspect of it being personalized. But that said, if it were personalized, then he should be seeing things that are more to his liking.
Right.
Which has been a criticism of Facebook in particular, the echo chamber. So, as a software developer and as somebody that, pays attention to politics and media, this is a very tough thing to solve. And I don't believe there is a solution. There has to be this constant tension. And I think this will be forevermore. I feel that in order for the all of the news to get out to all of the people, you need some gatekeepers, some media companies or Google or Facebook, all of these organizations trying to not push agendas, but push actual news out. They all need to have a little more, and I think we'll get back to that. I think that there was, when TV first came out, when the radio first was developed, there were these journalistic standards that were kind of a carryover from newspapers.
Right.
And newspapers over the century before that had to develop a little bit of journalistic integrity.
Right. After, all the crazy, you've seen some of those old newspapers that are clearly,
Well, there's always
they're basically
bias.
tabloids, but
Yeah.
New York Times was a tabloid in the 1800s. Everything
Yeah.
was. It's sensationalizing.
Right.
And it had to develop to where you could actually trust the news.
And I think in terms of if you think about this as a business person, you don't want to piss off half the country or half of your customer base. So I think that while the internet is still sort of the Wild West, even though it's coming on 30 years old, I think that in order to capture customers, media companies, Google, Facebook, the New York Times, I think they do need to soften their partisanship. I think that we're in just this bubble where there's these fiefdoms of hyper-conservatism, hyper-liberalism, and I think we're gonna get over it because the rational center, which more or less all of us belong to. You think you're kind of radical on the left. You think I'm kind of radical on the right. We agree on more things than we disagree, right?
Well, I don't think those, drastic far to each side things shouldn't exist.
Nope.
They should have a
Yeah,
spot.
I don't. Yeah,
I think the biggest issue is transparency, and saying, hey, just,
Yeah.
you're going on to a crazy communist.
So how do you do that?
Man, I don't know. You're asking me.
Well, so you think that has to happen, but no one has a good way of doing that. If you think back to the 3 TV networks and then 4 TV networks and then cable, things did kind of splinter because of the explosion of media opportunities, right? But when there were just a few choices, things were kind of handled more or less.
Centrally?
They were not. well, they were sort of central because all the news was based in New York, right?
Right.
So there was that. So there was just kind of this, worldview that kind of came through New York. So we've kind of broken free from that, and I think that that's mostly good. But the three TV networks, they mostly copied each other. They did more or less the same thing.
Right. Going back to Trump and the
Yeah.
Google thing specifically, we talked earlier about, is he seeing stuff, in essentially the incognito mode version
Sure.
or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Let's say he's not. Is it possible? Because Google's algorithms, they're what they use to show you what you want to see,
Mhm.
are designed for that purpose, right? They're designed to show you what you want to find. So, what if it's a case of Trump specifically looking for the things?
I don't
he
know that
doesn't
that's
want?
true. So the goal is they are, and whether they can succeed at this or whether they do succeed, those are different things. But I think their goal is to produce what they think you should find,
Right.
not what you think you should find, and that's where this becomes tricky.
But they have to start with somewhere, getting to know
Absolutely.
what you want.
Absolutely.
So here's the theory here. You ever do something because you know it's going to make you angry? Do you ever like being riled up by something?
You mean like coming here and talking to you?
Yeah. um,
Yeah.
There's a good case.
I'm sort of insane though, so I don't know that.
Well, we know that our president has a pattern of doing that. He watches CNN and then lies saying he doesn't because he wants to be angry about something. So if he, goes on the internet and does that repeatedly and clicks on all those CNN fake news stories,
Yeah.
But we don't know where he's coming from. He kind of just, blasted that onto Twitter and then didn't really back it up.
So there've been various measurements of, and I know we're skewing off. So I promise we'll bring this back to the Twitter, Google, Facebook. But but his complaint is not just with Twitter. If we're talking about this current event thing, he is talking about CNN, and my understanding is the CNN is sort of center, but slightly left of center. And the same thing with with most like ABC, NBC.
I don't know.
Yes.
As someone who is on the left, I don't see CNN necessarily as left-leaning, but I do see them as pro-government. I don't know if there's a distinction to you, but to me there is. It's not, pro-socialist type stuff or even far-leaning Democrat stuff. It's we're supportive of the government, whether it's a Republican or Democratic government.
That could be true. Yeah. And mostly I would view that as being left of center. But I get your point. So you're saying, and I really don't watch CNN. I'm just basing this off of. So I'm basing this off of
what
anecdotes.
you have seen, anecdotal.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so are you saying that they stick up for the military on CNN?
they're very pro-military.
Yeah. So that's interesting. The fact that he may be disenfranchising some of his voters by claiming CNN is something that maybe they are not.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit dangerous.
Now, I think the thing with that is if we separate out all biases, which, is impossible to do, but theoretically, if we could take every news story about Trump and separate out all bias on either side or any opinion, would that news be negative?
About Trump?
Yeah.
Well, so is the volume of things being written on the internet by all sources more negative of Trump than positive? I would say yes, because that's just the American way to criticize the president, period. I would say there were more things that were negative of Obama as well. I think that's just natural. Now,
would you say
credible, big name news sources? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Would you say, like, if you compared the past couple presidents, that there are more people against Trump than previous ones?
There are different people against Trump.
Different, but I'm talking numbers wise. I'm trying to quantify.
In the media, are there?
in the
More
media. I mean, the internet's kind of hard to calculate into that because
I mean, the fact is, he won the election.
yeah,
At least as decisively as Obama did. So, are more people against him? No.
I think the first time around, yeah, but wasn't the race against Mitt Romney. Rather,
These have all been close. Like the last, go back to basically a tie between Al Gore and Bush, right? So they've all been tight. So make no mistake, the country is 50-50, right? So are there more people? I don't know.
I think there. I mean, I hate to bring up this phrase, and I really hate it, but approval ratings do show there is a difference. But we're talking like even at Obama's worst, what was Obama's worst? Like 43%, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe.
Trump's lowest is like 32.
So I don't trust those numbers.
That's fair.
I don't trust polls.
No.
Because how are these people getting reached? I have literally never been polled by anyone. Have you?
I think once. And it was for Scott Walker.
Okay. I've literally never been polled. I don't even know how I would.
It was over
be
the
polled.
phone.
How would they get my number? I don't even understand.
I think they just cold call.
Yeah, I wouldn't answer it.
No.
And I think most people wouldn't answer it. Most busy people wouldn't answer it.
Exactly.
Now, what's the cross section of people who answer the phone versus voters?
Have you seen the official presidential job survey thing that was sent out?
No.
I
heard of something
from
like that,
President Trump.
Yeah.
And one of the
Was it like
primary
pushed out on
questions,
Facebook?
what do you think? Yeah, I think so. And a couple other places. was,
Okay.
what do you think of the job the president's been doing? And your options were amazing, great, good, or other.
Was it 90% other? Because that would be awesome.
Polls can be biased.
Right. So, all right, let's bring this back to the whole Facebook, Twitter, Google thing. Do you think that there will be regulations put in place? There used to be some television regulations in terms of politics. Fair. What did they call that? Equal time for different candidates. Do you think we're ever going to get to something like that where these large services are regulated?
Hey, remember when net neutrality existed, and then the Trump government worked to tear it down?
Yeah, I don't know that has anything to do with this, though.
No, but it is kind of funny considering one of the things that net neutrality can, the loss of net neutrality can be argued to do is help with censoring different political views. And now,
yeah,
they're complaining about exactly that.
Yeah.
You can see the irony there.
We need to have a net neutrality show because there is a political crossover, but I don't think that's
we did at some point. When it was
we can revisit this because I think there's a lot of misconceptions there, including on your part. I don't know, man. So in terms of Twitter, Facebook, Google, do you think that they'll be regulated?
No.
Okay. So, all right, I was actually thinking you'd say maybe. I was anticipating a maybe response.
I think we're too pro-corporation to regulate them.
Interesting. Okay. So,
I mean, you know how much money they give to campaigns?
In the scheme of business,
I'm
actually
sure
not
quite
that
a bit,
much. Actually, not that much compared
And
to other
you know
business
what?
types.
I'm sure if
they don't care because
I'm
they're
sure
like,
if
whatever.
someone slapped down a bill in the Senate that says let's regulate them, a whole bunch of money would be flooding into lobbyists from Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of them, and they have the money to do things.
Okay, so let's pretend you said yes, or let's pretend that somebody, all right, let's pretend that the something is passed.
We are big fans of hypotheticals.
What would we do? Like, what would we regulate? What on earth can you regulate regarding this to make sure that the news is not fake news, to make sure that viewpoints, the real news gets out?
Here's the problem. I don't trust our government to do that.
Right.
And
I don't either.
Not necessarily